Council, who is disbanding their group, and asked if we had any educators that were interested in doing some work in learning around the Mascoma Watershed area. So I approached Principal Harkins and teacher Sonda Brake, who had gone out to meet with the council and put together a proposal. So the 6th grade team at Lebanon Middle School will be doing the Watershed project for the entire year, which will really highlight some outdoor education, sustainability work, science, math, social studies, and English. So I'm really excited for this opportunity, and I know at the end we'll thank them again. But and thank you for Principal Harkins and Ms. Brake for going after this grant.
Great. Is there any discussion by the board? Is there any public comment in the room or any public comment online?
There is no public comment online.
Okay, great. We will close the public hearing at 6:31 p.m. All right, I'd also like to call to order the board meeting also at 6:32. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
All right, public comment will occur during the public comment portion of the meeting and is done via raising your hand remotely or in person. During public comment, once acknowledged, please state your name and ward so that it can be included in the minutes, and please limit your time to 3 minutes. Public comment is governed by policy BEDH. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda?
There is none.
Okay. So we will open up public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any online?
There is no public comment online.
Okay, so we will close public comment for now and we will reopen at the end of the meeting. Student report. We have a new school board representative.
Hi, my name is Veronica Getchell. I'm the new elected student board representative. For our update, I've only gotten to go to 1 council meeting today, so I don't have much. But right now we're working on homecoming. And we decided that 20% of our income from HOCA will be going for a fundraiser for Claremont. Hanover Council in Hanover has also reached out to us to collaborate on a endorsed letter to Kelly Ayotte about the situation in Claremont. We decided that right now we're going to prioritize funding, but as more information comes in, we might continue with that.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Welcome. We're glad to see you. We'll see you next time. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, correspondence.
There is no correspondence.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to approve the minutes from the public hearing on August 20th.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the public hearing on August 20th, 2025.
Okay, motion by Tia. Can I get a second? Second by Joe. Thank you. Any additional discussion on that? All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so 2 abstentions, Jessica and John. All right, we'll need a motion to approve the minutes from the August 20th meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 20th meeting.
Okay, can I get a second? Motion by Tia, second by Joe. Any corrections to those minutes? I have one. Under 8B, the business administrator update, it says worked on DOA 25, which I think DOE 25? I think so. Okay. All right. Are there any other corrections from anyone else? Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? Okay. Opposition? Abstentions? 2 abstentions from Jessica and John. All right, that brings us to the SAU leadership team update and the superintendent update.
Thank you. So good evening. I just want to say we've had a great start to the school year, lots of success. I'd like to give a special shout out to Tim Ball, John Kerber, Jack Grooney, the City of Lebanon, and our facilities team for their quick response and strong communication during the recent water main break at the Hanover Street and High School campus. Their teamwork and responsiveness made sure that we were able to minimize any disruptions and keep our schools running smoothly. So thank you for those people. Our fall sports and activities are underway. I want to encourage anyone that's listening online to check out our website and to look at schedules, updates, and highlights. Next, I'd like to provide a brief update on state-level matters. On September 4th, 2025, the state filed a temporary junction order related to the House Bill 2 certification form that we had discussed. The new submission date, unless a determination is made sooner, is now September 18th, 2025. So we will closely monitor this, and I will update you as necessary. Thank you. If and when we need to sign that form. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about the strategic plan. After me, you're going to hear from our business administrator, who is going to present our state financial reports as our ongoing commitment to transparency and community awareness. Following that, you will hear from Lebanon Middle School and Lebanon High School, who are going to share their school goals. Within the strategic plan that this board approved, we've asked them to create 3 measurable goals, and this is kind of our first time going through this. So I've asked them to create a goal tied to the strategic plan, to create a goal, one academic goal, and a goal of their choosing of what they'd like to work on over the year, and they will come back in June to present that data. So I'm really excited that we've taken this first step to look at our data integration and our analysis and our implementation science. Also, in your packet, you have received class size reports for the Lebanon Middle School and Lebanon High School as promised. I want to thank our principals and staff for their commitment through this process. And at our next meeting, as a reminder, you will hear from our 2 elementaries, as well as our September 25 update fully on the strategic plan. So that concludes my update this evening. Any questions?
Anything for Amy? Okay, great, thank you. All right, so that brings us to Tim.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I did a background that didn't make it in the packet. I apologize for that, but I'll read it to you. So the DOE 25 is the state financial report that we have to file. Every district has to file with the state as of September 1st. It's included in your packet, but you don't have, I have the originals here. I need you to sign. It's the same it's the same report, but one goes to the DRA and one goes to the DOE. So we need the majority of school board members to sign them. What that report says, there's a lot of detail. There's even more pages that I didn't print out. What that report says is at the bottom of the first page, the unassigned fund balance of $1,061,366.52. If you remember, during budget time, we tried to budget for $1 million to offset taxes. So when we say your tax rate's going to go up by, I don't remember, say 50 cents, that's assuming we had $1 million to give back. We came in just over that, so that's good. This includes reserving the 2.5% provision. So some of our new board members, the voters gave the board the right to withhold some fund balance. This happened back in 2014. So instead of returning every penny, you are allowed to keep in reserve up to 2.5% of your assessed value. That number is given to us by the state. The maximum you can keep is $1,040,426, and that $1 million going back assumes we hold back that $1 million in that 2.5% fund. What can that fund be used for? Under the new legislation that you guys had in the warrant and was passed with a public hearing, the board can use it for whatever emergency they need. So.
Your mic seems to be going in and out, so just
okay. I'm trying to not
closer.
Do that. All right.
Okay.
Sorry. So anyway, I think that's good news. Food service, I did want to mention, and you'll see this later in the chapters, but we did transfer $67,000 approximately from the general fund to the food service fund to offset losses. That sounds bad. Last year it was 93,000, so we went in the right direction. And I also wanted to point it out that we spent $25,000 on equipment and repairs, new stuff for Hanover Street, and we had a freezer go down. So if we didn't have to do that, our number would have been about 40,000. So I think that's pretty good. Cash on hand, I don't usually provide this, but I figured it might be helpful based on the news reports. Cash on hand as of June 30th was $6.9 million. As of today, it's 4.8. We get 3.8 from the city every month. These numbers are unaudited. Our auditors will be here next week, going through all of our books. If there's some sort of significant issue with this versus what they think, then I get that audit done in time that I can refile this with the state. But usually, it's there's not a significant difference. So. You'll get more sort of, I'm putting together a chapter 1 for next time, which will talk about some of the major places that we were under budget and some other things. You'll see that in the next board meeting. Do you have any questions?
Just not a question, but just want to say thank you for doing your job. Well, we appreciate that in this district.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, great. Any other questions for Tim?
Tim, are you
Okay.
going to ask them to sign after? Do we have to sign that?
Before you leave,
Before
I need
you
these
leave.
signed. I don't know if I want to, I was trying to think, you just read my mind. Do I pass them around? I guess I'll just wait till after.
We can wait till
Yeah.
after the meeting.
Just make sure you don't leave before signing it so that he gets the majority of us that are here.
I do believe
Thanks.
we have a reason to go into non-public this evening, so we can do it after non-public.
Okay.
And Tim, did you want to also sorry.
Sorry, you're right. Thank you, Amy, for keeping me
I
straight.
know.
A quick update on the SAU exploratory group. We had a meeting at the end of August with stakeholders from the board and from the community about what to do with the SAU. So I presented 3 options and I wanted to hear if anybody had anything else. Nobody came up with any other ideas. The 3 options we talked about were status quo, trying to figure out some sort of dual use with the city, or selling it. And for selling it, we had already gotten like a proposal from a real estate agent, or not a proposal, but an estimate of what it would be worth. And probably not surprisingly, the group really settled on, I think the best option is probably going to explore like all the details of sort of a dual use thing. So our next steps are to, Amy and I and John are going to get together and sort of kind of brainstorm a little bit about how that could be broken up. We have a plan that we already got from Banwell Architects 15 years ago, using that sort of as a nugget to see if that would work for what we're thinking about. And we'll have another meeting probably in October to sort of kind of finalize some costs. Not finalize to present to you like this can go on a warrant or something, but sort of finalize to be able to present to you why we think this is a good idea, so then we can begin phase 2, which would be like community input and stuff like that. So
I just wanted to add through the conversation with the city, it came up to, again, the city is also looking at the Dana House. And as you know, the Dana House is on school district property, and our garages out back of the SAU are on city property. So that is something that the city would like to engage in with conversations with us, potentially land swap, but also just looking at the assets around the SAU building. So I do have a meeting and a tour at the SAU on Friday with our new city manager. So at that point, I will start those conversations and get a schedule for us for our joint board meetings where I think this work can continue.
Anybody have any questions for Tim or Amy?
Yeah, one question is, who's serving on the committee, the SAU committee? And I think I'm curious about the process in terms of the 3 options and how, when you see the board kind of participating in those conversations as a whole. I think there was a 4th option that I was interested in seeing explored, and I think it's understandable if that's not what happens, but I I'm curious about when you see the full board weighing in on this process.
We were hoping to have a presentation to the board by and with, I guess, the budget process. So like the beginning of, if not the first meeting in November, maybe we do it at the November budget meeting in that time frame. As far as who's on the board or on that committee was, I don't know if I can remember everybody, Amy, John, and I, 2 board members. There was 2 people from the planning department, Paul Coates, who's the director. Missing anybody?
Someone from the West Lebanon Revitalization
Oh, yeah.
Committee.
I think that was it. What option did I forget to bring up?
I think,
Was it the final is just to shut the doors and do nothing?
yeah, I'd
Shut
be
the door-
curious,
oh,
I'd
shut
be
it
curious
down.
about what the
Yeah.
cost is in particular. I think of shuttering the building for a time and needing to relocate, like what it would cost us to relocate our staff to
Yeah.
rented facilities. So I think trying to understand.
I think we can, so I appreciate that. I'm glad this is bringing that up. I think what we have to do for this shared use thing is we have to sort of talk with the city manager, kind of get an idea, like if this was shared use of the city, who would be in here and how much space do we need? And that would kind of build that plan out. And I think it'd be pretty easy to say, or yeah, the 4th option is, since we don't really like selling it or doing nothing, doing nothing, we know what it costs. Shutting it down would cost X. It's not that hard to figure out where we'd have to find costs for where to move to and then a cost to sort of shutter it, which is not that hard.
Yeah, and as part of this process, we've had some people that have reached out that had space available. So
Yeah.
John, Tim, and I had looked at space just to get an idea of
Yeah.
what space and how much we would need and what that cost would be too. So from that group and just from those city representatives and the people from West Leb, there is a deep commitment, I think, to kind of keep that building and preserve it in some sort of form for that. And, I think it was pretty loud and clear in terms of the building use, especially the gym and the auditorium. It's a large resource for this community. So keeping that in mind, I think that will be presented to this board and eventually, a proposal to the board. And then if whatever that decision would be, it may need to be a warrant article. And then, if we were end up to have selling that, there's all sorts of planning things and zoning things that other people would need to kind of to worry about. But I think part of that conversation that may come first is that Dana House and that land that we have, those options around for development too, which I think is a pressing issue as well for the city.
I would say that I told you in November, like when I started the meeting, the November timeframe, which hopefully would still work, but the consensus was, because we want to do it right with community involvement. I was thinking about having a warrant article for the building itself. That's why I hit like the budget time. So without selling it, the warrant article thing doesn't have to happen. So the time frame to shorten it up to get everything done by November is not as, you know what I mean? We do need a warrant article for the Dana House. That's a separate thing, but that's going to be a warrant article.
So, I guess just like 2 concerns that are coming up for me are that, one, my understanding is that in the past conversation, and I guess, so there's nobody on the city council in the committee, is that right? There's the city manager, but nobody from the council,
There were 2 people from the planning department.
but not the city council.
I don't believe so.
Correct,
Unless-
and I these conversations are going to be pertinent when we get together with our joint board, and we also waited for the city manager to come on board to see where his vision is, and especially department heads had a hard time talking about, hey, would this be a good partnership without that position being filled?
I think my sense, and I wasn't there for these parts of the world, others may have been, that there were quite extensive conversations in the past, including there was like architectural drawings or there was like planning done in terms of like what a changed use for the SAU building could look like, and costs brought up and everything else. There was a process around that happened, I don't know what, 10 years ago, something like that.
There were two, since I've been around, about 5 years ago, there was significant effort underway that would be transferring the SAU to the city, and the city had they spent a lot of money on architecture to come up with a plan that was more than $25 million. before that, there was some more like just conversations, like, what do we do with this building kind of thing.
Yeah,
So that's what I remember.
I think my sense is that it would be great if this conversation took place with the full board earlier, in the sense of, I'm not going to be very supportive of a process where we arrive at a presentation where we're sort of said, like, well, this is what, we think this is the best option and here's what it is. I think that to my mind, I'm still looking for numbers in terms of how much it costs us to run the SAU every year. I think like we've sort of and a look back on how much it's cost us because we've spent not just the running costs of the building, but also renovation costs, et cetera. There's a lot of money that goes into that building, and I think we need to take the full board needs to have real insight into how much it costs to run that building in order to make an informed decision about how to move forward. I think I have every reason to believe that that's going to be part of the process and that you guys are going to do a great job of that, but I would like to be very clear that to me that's a huge part of this, is that, and I think there also needs to be a really strong conversation had if we're heading in, if there's a belief that some kind of a dual use situation is going to be maybe what is recommended, I think there needs to be a really strong sense from the city that they are going to support that financially, because I think that there's been a lot of questions around that. So I just sort of bring that up not to say like anything other than like,
I think that would be part of it.
these are things that I think are going to be really important, and I don't want us to get 80-90% of the way through this process before the full board gets a chance to ask a lot of questions and have some weigh-in.
The kind of product you would get would be, these are the options we explored. Here are, not just these are the options and this is what we recommend, but these are the options. Here's the operating cost. Do nothing. The operating costs are this. This is historically this. It's going to, and so if you sell it, you can get this much money from it. Here are the cons with that. You lose the gym and stuff. So they're going to be all the options we explored and numbers to go with it. And here's why we recommend this option. So I think that you will, that's what I would want if I were you. So I think that's what we'll do.
I think the one concern that I'd have, not in a personal way, just in a sort of like process way that I think has happened before, my understanding is that when the city had gone through the process of coming up with all the drawings and they came up with a proposal that was going to cost $25 million and everything else, the discussions that led to a proposal that was going to cost $25 million were very different than they could have been. There could have been a very different conversation about a less expensive project, but that wasn't what was presented. So I think we just want to be careful about like.
So it's, I mean, I will say, having been here for that process, that this is already very different than what happened then. And I think that what Tim is laying out is exactly what we would expect going forward, sort of in response to like the points that you're raising, because we're expecting that there is going to be, this is a working group, so the working group is doing the research for us, but they're going to come to us and tell us the things that they have uncovered and answer all of these and have the opportunity to answer all these questions as well, which really didn't happen the last time. And I think it's very unclear in that past one, at least the 5 years ago one, I wasn't here for the 10, but the 5 years ago one, it was unclear who pulled out when, who was upset when, what, there was a lot of lack of transparency happening.
Very fair.
Yeah, and I think like exactly that's sort of what we would like to avoid, a bridge situation where we just kind of don't do anything this time and put it off for another 5 years because we can't all sort of get there together. So I think making sure that the full board has a chance to sort of, like, it's a more time-consuming process. Yes, it's more tedious in a lot of ways, but I think it's a really important conversation, and I feel like this is going to be really important to the community and may have to make some hard choices. And if that's the position we're in, I think we need to be part of that conversation. More than just 2 board members need to be part of that conversation earlier.
And that's what we're planning for. So I think that's
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, last week, at our last meeting, I discussed that the city had reached out to with their, the preschool grant, so they had received that large grant. That proposal at the airport is not going to come to fruition, so the city did reach out and is putting together a stakeholder group to look at providers of preschool and to see what options we have, and one of those options is they talked to us like, could the SAU be there? So there's lots of conversations happening, and I think this process, it's going to take a while because it needs to be done right. And I think this, as you said before, there's a lot of emotional ties to that building and a lot of use. So we want to make sure that this process is inclusive and transparent as possible.
And sort of piggyback on that, what Amy says, from 5 years ago to now, it's over 75% of people are new players. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. New city council, new school board, new superintendent, new city manager. So all of those things are in play. The fact that the city manager is so new means we will probably be slowing a bit because of that, because he's going to have to get up to speed. But I think that, as to Tim's point, we have the time to figure that out correctly. So I think that's good. So I'm pleased for the progress we're making.
Thank you. And from the response from those people from the city, they were happy that we're thinking about this and open to discussion about partnerships and things like that. So that's been very responsive.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Tim? Okay, that moves us to, something's going on over here, but I don't know what's happening. That moves us to LMS goals and class sizes. Yes, sorry. Yes. Oh, this is the French trip. You're here. Yes, sorry. Come up. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Come. All right, so we're going to skip ahead. I apologize. I didn't see you over there. I'm sorry. There's a mic right over there.
Yeah.
You can sit the chair or you can use the stand-up mic. And we're going to skip ahead to 10B. So discussion and action on the LHS French class field trip request. Apologies.
So I am Jennifer LeBlanc. I teach French at Lebanon High School. This is my colleague, Molly Valalian. She's a paraeducator, and we co-sponsor French Honor Society and French Club at the high school. So what we're proposing to do is do a day trip to Sherbrooke, Quebec, and it would involve students in levels 3 through 5 of French, and the goal is to offer them an immersive experience that is not as big a time commitment and monetary commitment as some of our larger trips that we've taken at the high school. So Sherbrooke is only about 2 hours away, so it is possible to do it as a day trip. And being less cosmopolitan-like than Montreal or Quebec City, they're less likely to hear English, which would be another advantage for our students, getting to hear more of the target language. So we have researched the requirements that would be needed for the students and for drivers and adults to go. What we propose to do is go on a weekday, leave around 6 in the morning, stop at a Tim Hortons, which is sort of a little bit like Dunkin' Donuts, over the border for snacks, and then arrive in Sherbrooke around 9 o'clock, where we would like to do a visit at the Science Museum. It's possible to arrange visits that are with pre-planned activities that cost around $20 Canadian for like multiple activities for our group. So I think that would be easily manageable finance-wise. Then a lunch at a restaurant that serves poutine, which is a traditional Quebecois dish, among other things. And then Sherbrooke is known for its murals. The city has a walking circuit of between 3.5 kilometers and 4.8 kilometers of murals that you can walk and see. And so they have a self-guided tour that gives background on each of the murals. And so we would take the kids to walk either the shorter or the longer circuit, depending on time. There's also a bakery, serve traditional like French or Quebecois pastries that we might stop at, time permitting. And Then Molly's prepared an activity for them to do around food in a supermarket where they can see all the things in the target language and do an activity around that. And we have comparable activities for the students who stay on campus to do as well so that everybody's kind of on the same page. So that's basically our general idea for what to do. We will probably depart Sherbrooke around 4:30 and arrive back here around 7.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. That sounds really lovely. Are there other kind of planned field trips at this time for the French program that, this is my first year on the board, so I'm curious to hear more.
We haven't done together. We haven't planned. I know there is, well, Molly is involved with a trip that is going to Europe in April. So it's open to all students. It's not just French students. This is geared really towards French students because we're looking to give them an immersive experience for students who are studying the language. So
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Do you have an anticipated cost for this, or?
The museum costs, they would have to have a passport, or if they're under 18, their parents can have a copy of their driver's license or identification or their passport. Depending if they're a U.S. citizen or not, if they're not a U.S. citizen, there are slightly different requirements for them. Notarized letter from the parents, but if they have their passport, it's fine.
So in terms of the cost for the different things that we're planning, the museum would cost about like $20 Canadian. The mural circuit is free, and then there would be the cost of the meal at the restaurant, and then we would recommend that the students bring pocket money for incidentals. And then if there's costs that we need to absorb around transportation, then we would factor those in as well.
Thank you.
I had one more question, sorry. How many students do you anticipate being able to participate?
We surveyed students a couple of weeks ago, and there were around 30 interested students in those levels. So we're anticipating that not necessarily all of them will be able to go, but we're planning something around that number.
Is the hope one bus or multiple?
The hope would be one bus.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so we a motion.
All right, I will move to approve the LHS French class field trip request to Sherbrooke, Quebec.
Okay, motion by Tia. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any additional questions? We do things all like this, we've done things like this in the past for sporting events. I mean, for sports, but we usually can do buses for a full day, or we be
Right,
renting a bus.
I know they've reached out to our bus transportation, so I know there was conversation too just about passports for them, but if not, they would probably need to rent a bus. But just a reminder, this going out of country policy was something that we passed this year, so.
All right, all those in favor? Unanimous. All right, thank you very much. Sorry that we didn't put you right on. Apologies.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to middle school.
Good evening. My name's Tom Harkins. I'm the principal of Lebanon Middle School. I have most of our administrative team here. Autumn Lansing is our director of athletics and co-curriculars. She's at our first home football game tonight. We had a little issue with the EMT. That's why we're all scurrying around back there, but nobody's hurt. They didn't show up. Sorry. I should be clear about that. Sorry.
You buried the lead.
Not showing up. Everybody's fine, but they're getting going now. Sorry. And Dr. Rooney is our assistant principal, and Aaron Mills is our student services administrator. So thank you for the opportunity to share our goals this evening in relation to the strategic plan and otherwise. And I have my clicker here, so I think you all have the slides there in front of you, but our focus number 1 is increasing engagement and improving outcomes through the use of learner-centered strategies, which is, as you all know, directly tied to the strategic plan. These are some of the things that we have been doing and will be either continuing or implementing this year. So Two Revolutions is the consultant group that was a part of the transition to during the leadership transition here at Lebanon Middle School at the end of 2024. Yep, that's correct. Yeah, at the end of the 23-24 school year. And as I started my time here, and they worked with a group and did a lot of learner-centered pedagogy work. And that group continues to, well, that group doesn't continue to meet, but those strategies continue to be implemented. Project-based learning is a big push that we're all working towards. Dr. Rooney went to the PBL Works conference last year. I went this year. A few of our teachers have gone, and last year I had a bunch of posters on display about the volunteer or the local service organizations. That was a big project that some of our 6th grade teachers took on. Professional development will continue to work with our teachers to encourage them to focus on learner-centered strategies, and that's something that we've been talking about since my time started here. We will use staff meetings to continue that conversation. We had a staff meeting yesterday, and we talked about a piece of PBL, which is just to continue to move the dimmer switch is the term that PBL uses, that we're going to keep working on to try and continue to move people towards learner-centered strategies. And then our self-assessment is how we're gathering the data. We've almost all of our staff has completed a self-assessment as far as how often and which learner-centered strategies they're implementing now, and we're going to do that again in June. We are in the process of getting a survey. Well, the survey is created. We're just finding the time to have our students fill it out to indicate how many learner-centered strategies they experience. We're curious to see what their take on that is, but we're looking forward to that. And then we'll do those again in June. The Watershed project, or the Watershed Council that, thank you, Aaron, voting on tonight, you just had the public hearing on, is another PBL project that the whole 6th grade team is going to be collaborating on and working on, and we're really excited about that too. So goal number 1 is to determine the baseline of learner-centered teaching strategies, and by June of 2026 to see an increase in those strategies by 10%. Based off of teacher and student data surveys. Focus number 2 is to improve the ELA student outcomes by the end of 6th grade. So we have some information here for you that you can read. The current 6th grade proficiency has declined, unfortunately, and that's been fairly consistent over the past few years, and we're working to turn that around. Here's some data that demonstrates that decline that we're working on. And some more data showing the decline. Oh, do you not have these? Okay, I'll go a little slower then. So if you look, this doesn't have a pointer, I don't think, but if you look at, so the darker red is 2024 scores for the SAU. So those are, let's start at 4th grade. If you look at the dark red, that was the 4th grade at the end of 2 school years ago. So if you go to now the 5, that's our 5th grade last year, our current 6th grade. So that's the group that we're kind of targeting this year. So, thank you. Thank you, Amy. So we have a lot of room for growth.
Sorry, can I just be clear? So for 5, that's when they took, the dark red is when they took it in 4th grade? That's the same cohort? Or is that the 5th graders in 2024?
Yeah, that's the next one goes by cohort.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
These are the same cohort as they move from 4th to 5th to 6th, or 3rd to 4th to 5th. But it does not have the state average.
So we don't like those dips. I mean, there's data that shows that there is generally a dip from 4th to 5th. I mean, you all are. You can. Well, let me say one more thing, though, is that we changed our schedule this year. If you remember, we're doing our departmental team teaching, so we have STEM and humanities as opposed to, like, our teachers were kind of stuck in, like, an elementary model in a middle school schedule. So in an elementary, you get to really kind of tailor your classes to, you had a huge chunks of time with your kids and you could tailor it the way you needed to, whereas our teachers were teaching all of the different subjects, but getting chopped up every 42 minutes. So that was one of the pushes that we talked about. We've talked, I've spoken with you all about it a few times. So I don't know besides that. Well, there's other things besides that I know, but I'd say those are too big. You want to go?
Yeah, we're continuing, sorry, I think as a nation, we're continuing to see these, as Amy had said, the system that we use NWEA on 3 times a year to assess where students are at, and that they renormed everything from 2020 to this year. They renormed it again, and they, on a whole, saw throughout the East Coast a huge, and that's what they focus on, is the East Coast, and they saw these dips. We, as a building, are seeing in certain cohorts even more of a dip, and that's where we're continuing to dig in, and we have data teams that we meet every week to look at the data and try to figure out how we can help those cohorts.
Good. And as a reminder, too, just as we recover from COVID, where those kids were in COVID when they started school, also for this district to, in changing our ELA program that we had. So this group of students did not get that full phonics instruction that we have been focusing on over the last couple of years. So I know after the data slide,
There's another one
the
I'm
team
trying
is
to
going
click.
to talk about what they're doing in hopes to remedy to this. And I apologize that these didn't make it in my printing.
Oh, there it goes. Oh boy,
Nope,
I just
too
clicked like
much.
9 times. Sorry. Give me a moment. I just clicked back like 5. Sorry. Oh. Oh. Is that the next one?
It's right here, yes.
Great, thank you. Oops. So I've spoken to a little bit of this, the humanities model, as I just discussed. We obviously have a new schedule this year with increased instructional minutes that we're hoping has some positive impact there. The curriculum revision that has been undertaken, and we're piloting a new program this year for one trimester to see how that goes. The examination of instruction in ELA for students entering LMS, so that's what Amy just alluded to. Oh yeah, Lit Lab, is that on here yet? Or is that
That's
on
that next piece.
next month, yeah. So remediation for that cohort. So part of our schedule revamp for this year is including our literacy lab class, which is focusing specifically on language arts.
So
skills.
in here, back to that
Yeah.
goal, you can see they are addressing the current 5th graders with that humanities, the increased minutes, the curriculum revision, and then the instructional leadership team will be in doing observations, working with Karen Dubois, making sure that literacy instruction is done to fidelity. Those 5th graders from last year, who now are 6th graders, as I just said, as part of our intervention, they'll be getting remediation in that lit lab. So we're really kind of looking at that 2 cohorts, improving that experience coming into 5th grade and remediating those students that are in 6th. Sorry for talking so much. Tom, go ahead.
I appreciate it.
I saw you switch to the next slide. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask a question now, but can you tell me what the humanities model means? Like why that? I understand the constraints of the previous and the particularly the instructional minutes. So what's the humanities model?
So this year in 5th grade, we have students are on academic teams. So rather than being with like one classroom teacher, as they are generally in elementary, or in 6th grade, they rotate through a different teacher for science, social studies, math, language arts, and lit lab this year. they have 2 primary teachers. One of them is a STEM teacher, so science and math. The other is a humanities teacher, so language, arts, and social studies. And then those 2 teachers swap those kids. Another part of so they have those kids for double blocks essentially twice a day.
Okay, yes, thank you. Got it.
All right.
Also, in the future too, we've talked about how to build ELA throughout all curricular areas too. So how do our science teachers, math teachers, so, obviously social studies, English, are kind of building upon those English language skills throughout the curriculum.
And I'm going to flip my own. I did click it, so it should shift at some point.
There you
but
go.
There we go. So our goal is to increase proficiency to meet or exceed the state average. Classes entering LMS will show steady ELA proficiency with no more than a 3 to 5% drop from elementary school levels by cohort. And annually, the percentage of all LMS students proficient in ELA will exceed 56%.
Quick question on that. So the categories are either proficient or not proficient?
Proficient, what's
Reaching proficiency.
Yeah, so it's proficient.
exceeding?
Karen's coming
1
up
through
for the
4.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, here comes Karen. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, yeah, please.
So the SAS scores are reported in 4. Hi, I'm Karen Dubois, the
Thank you, Karen.
Director of Academics, Engagement, and Opportunity. The SAS scores are reported at the individual level in 4 categories. So there's below proficient, approaching proficiency, proficient, and exceeding proficiency.
Exceeding.
However, the important thing to know about the way that the state data is reported is it is simply reported as percent achieving proficiency. So it is the percent of the students who have are at the proficiency benchmark or above. That would be in the top 2 categories in terms of performance.
So you could have like 50% in exceeding, 10% in proficient. It all just counts as 60% proficient.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we are able to look at the breakdown in all 4 score categories at the school level. It's just often easiest to speak about the percent proficient from a goal setting standpoint because it's the easiest way to compare year over year, and it is the goal stated by the state, the way the state frames our goal setting.
So it's not the case that like half the students are not meeting a reasonable standard.
It is the case that that the percentage, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
I think I am, and I think the answer is, unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
They are. There
It
is
the
more
case
than
they are
half.
not meeting proficiency standards in the state of New Hampshire. There is like a
3.
line in the
They're
sand.
getting 2
that
or
is
less, more
considered
than half of our kids.
a score reflecting proficiency, and they are not meeting that score.
Okay, thanks.
I swear we knew that part about the 3 or the 4. I just couldn't think of the words for exceeding. And
So
all
do we
that
need to
other
look
stuff.
into our math proficiency here? And,
I just
for all
wanted,
of us.
yes, and I want to thank, actually, before you go on to goal 3, I want to thank you guys for tackling this goal. I've spoken to our board chair too, and just about getting more data in front of you. And I think it's really important for us to have these conversations, to talk about the curriculum, to talk about instruction, and to focus on this to have an improved outcome. So I want to just acknowledge that because it's probably the first time everyone is seeing a goal like this. So it's very courageous and it's awesome. So.
It's very important. So thank you guys. One thing that I was wondering about in terms of, there's a little bit of an emotional part about seeing a goal of reaching proficiency exceeding 56% that like feels a little bit like it would be so exciting if that was a higher number, while still like understanding like where the state is, where like understanding the context that we're in. One question that I had was, my very basic understanding is that nationally we're seeing like these mirror a lot of trends, but that there are certain states which are seeing pretty strong results with some with some new techniques. This is my understanding. I feel like, was it like Louisiana,
Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama? There
And
are like certain, and I know I'm not speaking from a place of knowledge here, just sort of wondering, like, is there some exploration going on in terms of like, can we look at places where they are seeing really strong results and try to understand how that might apply to our area? Is that part of the conversation?
Sure, and I think that's kind of what they're doing with that curriculum. So when we brought forth, Karen, the EC, brought the recommendations to have that new ELA focus and having that discrete phonics instruction. That is that evidence-based practice that you've heard from there.
Sounds
And
like yes, so
yes,
great
and
job,
then-
everyone.
And the state of New Hampshire has had provided training, letters training, which several of our elementary schools have participated in. So we're hoping that we'll see these gains continue. And I just want to point out too, this is one measure of success. This is the state assessment. We have multiple other measures of success, including the NEWA data and other data that show that kids are doing really well. So it's a one moment point in time of that assessment. So it's hard to say that's the whole picture. And so I always want to be cautious with that because we have lots of other metrics. For the purpose of their presentation and the data, we chose to use the state assessment data to measure that growth.
Okay.
Thank you. We're apparently interjecting questions as we go along. Sorry, we're interrupting your presentation.
We'll allow it.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Yes.
I just have one, it's not really a question, but just to piggyback off something Amy said earlier. I would just encourage you, because I know you're going to come back at the end of the year to talk to us, especially on the slides about the sort of the slide read just before this one, implementing improved ELA goals by the end of 6th grade, that slide. And you've talked about several measures and things that you're implementing. So this is the number of, this is what's happening. If we could just have, like, again, data on what that is, to the extent that it's possible. Some of it's qualitative and it's not going to be possible, but what is quantitative would be helpful, I think, for us to see, just to sort of measure. Also, I will just say in advance, if you do not meet this goal, that is not going to be a failure on your part because this is an ambitious goal. And especially given sort of where the state is and where kids are and the age that these kids were during COVID and sort of the place that they are now. But that doesn't mean that I think it's not something that you should absolutely work on, because I think you should. But I just wanted to recognize me personally feeling like this is a big goal. So I'm interested to see how it happens. And I think having that data, even if you don't reach it, is actually going to be able to help those kids moving forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, like Jessica said, at 56%, if we hit, I don't know how we would know without the test, but it's like, all right, we're at 56%, we're good to go. Like, we're not there. We're pushing, obviously, as far as we can. So I appreciate that.
I mean, there also does seem to be evidence that, like, I'm really glad that you guys are looking at this very aggressively, it sounds like, because it does seem like there's very good evidence that these deficits are following these kids. Like, you're watching it move through grades. So I think that it's really positive that you're looking at it and not sort of looking away from that. And I commend you for that, because it really does look like you can really see that it is following them. So thank you for tackling that and not.
So you can go on now. Sorry.
Okay.
Unless you
Actually,
finish
one
your
last
pres-
question.
Oh, sorry, Kevin
Is
has
the
a question.
statewide cohort their same cohort, like that average? Because they're below that average, or is it for kids at that
Say
same
that again.
grade? So is that their cohort, the sort of COVID?
I would click back, but I'm afraid to, but I think I kind of need to. You're talking about this chart here, Kevin, if I'm showing it to you right here.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
going to guess it's 3 back, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to wait. Is that right? No, one more. Tyler's computer is showing it before it shows me up there.
Karen,
so.
do you want to come up too and kind of help? I think once we get for that question, just so you can see the cohort,
I think one more.
where they are. And like when we looked at the data and looking at what goal and not trying to throw everything out, really specific at that cohort data of last year's current 5th graders, just because we saw a bigger dip than the trend normally. So that's where our focus. And then Karen's like, we can't look at the 5th without looking at the 6th. And that's how we have that whole piece together of really what we want to improve.
So, Kevin, I want you to clarify your question that you're asking, just so that we're all clear.
If you go back, I'm just curious what bars I should be comparing, essentially. If you go back one.
Not on this
I
one.
have clicked.
Yeah.
There it goes.
So here's,
Like, does the 5 light pink go to the green?
It's an imperfect graphic, right? The challenge here was that the state hadn't released their 2025 data. So in an effort to provide some sort of state benchmark, that's the 2024 data there.
Got it.
So
it could be a
it's
statewide
it's
thing.
not the greatest infographic,
Yeah,
let me just acknowledge
Okay.
that, but it's what we had available to us. We were struggling, as you can see, it's why there's 2 different ways of showing this, to try to give you the information that you need in a very clear and simple way. Fourth. Yeah.
That dip.
Yeah.
Trend to.
Yeah.
Other grades have,
I guess,
and that's 6 and 7. So for us, it's important to not to forget about these kids in 6th grade. After that dip, we want to remediate them, but what's going on in 5th grade? Outcomes.
And this does grow out of conversations we've had at EC over the last 2 years, really noticing sluggish growth metrics. So in addition to percent proficient, which is really an achievement metric, we look at growth to try to say, well, we're a small district, relatively speaking, so there's cohort variance each year, but we try to look at the percentage of our students that are meeting growth goals as well. Again, we were trying to articulate a number of things to you tonight, so the intent isn't to do a data presentation in that level of detail, but we do look at those other metrics as well. So this is, a brave response to indicators over the last 2 to 3 years that our growth was sluggish, and then our percent proficient isn't what we'd hope it to be.
That's fine, and we may not have the answer here, but I'm just saying, if we blame the larger dip this year on COVID, that should be reflected in the state averages too. And so I don't, that's what I'm curious. Is that seen across the state?
I think just to sort of, here's my take on it. I think the LMS staff, while we're referencing COVID as one of many factors, is really in setting the school acknowledging it's not probably just that. We also have some need to look at our instruction and our models, which is what they've reflected here in their action steps and the goal setting.
Okay.
Does that feel fair?
Yeah, and I think in addition to us, those cohort of students did not get full phonics instruction in their K-2. So they're those gap students that are going through before we had those full. So in order for us to look at our phonics data, that's what we're tracking now, how those kids that were in kindergarten now in grade 2 that have full phonics instruction.
Okay, let's let them finish, and then additional questions we'll come back to. Go ahead.
Thank you, Karen.
All right. So, I'm going to start from my slides here I printed out. So LMS focus number 3 is to improve student attendance rates through an increase of voice and choice. So, Lil, you just mentioned a lofty goal, or I don't know what the word you use, but like, the way we're doing that, I guess I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse, but the way we're going for it, there it is. So we've already talked about project-based learning, which talks about authenticity, student voice and choice, all these great design elements of the PBL framework that really are learner-centered, which is what it's all kind of connected, obviously. So the more we focus on the learners and keeping them engaged and a part of the planning and implementation and everything of whatever they're working on, we're hoping that we improve our attendance rates. We have essential arts choices. It was one of our schedule changes this year, so the students have a lot more choice in what they get to take for their essential arts, and the buzz around here the first couple of weeks of school has been like awesome random kids. I still don't know this kid's name. The other day was like, I get wood shop twice. I get to use hammers and saws. And I was like, all right, buddy, see you later. And then I never have seen him again. So like, they're just pumped about it. So that possibility of a kid coming here who maybe doesn't like school in general and maybe would wake up that day and not feel so good and not come in, we're hoping, and it's hard to say right now that we've witnessed it already, but we've had a really good first few weeks. And I attribute part of it to that, where kids get at least a big chunk or a chunk of their day where they're doing something that they had a choice in. It's not just go here, go here, go here. School culture and climate, I mean, we work hard on that all the time, being respectful with the kids, being respectful with each other as colleagues and all those things, and just trying to take care of our teachers so they can take care of the kids and take care of each other as well, and just be a place that people want to be. And parent engagement, we had our new to LMS parent night in the spring, in the spring. We had our parent guardian orientation night just the other night, which was extremely well attended. We had a 5th and 6th grade session and a 7th and 8th grade session, and both were packed in here. So working really hard to keep parents a part of the conversation and understanding what we're doing here, and just keeping them engaged. And then, so here's the lofty goal part. So our attendance rate was already 93% last year. So it's good, but we're hoping, and we're kind of like a little bit curious to see what happens here. So we're going to try and push it, and 95% is our goal. And I think, like Lil, you mentioned, if we don't hit 95%, we'd be okay. I mean, we're all right with 93%, but we think that through all this voice and choice and everything I just mentioned, that we would be able to push that number up a little bit higher. So that was our third goal that we came up with as an admin team.
You're taking me out of context. I was talking about goal number 2, not goal number 3.
I know.
You don't know what I think about goal number 3. I have a quick question about this parent engagement part in relation to goal number 3, because I have sort of a pet peeve about attendance consequences, particularly in middle school, because they're not driving themselves to school, right? There's a very small amount of people who are walking, but the rest of these kids are reliant on their parents to get to school and get into class. And so this goal feels to me like it's actually measuring parents more than kids. And because they're the ones who are making the children or getting the children to school either way. So it may be that the child has a lot of enthusiasm for coming to school, or is excited about the essential choice or whatever, but they're not physically taking themselves to school, whereas their parents are the ones who are doing it. So I wonder about like how are we factoring in?
I mean, we have a very small population of students that we work with the families that are essentially in refusal.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe we should have dug deeper on the math, that if we can get those few to show up, those few aren't going to tick our percentage numbers up high enough to really make that change. But that's what I think about, is that those are like the far, far extreme cases. And again, there's very, very few of those, but they do exist. But if those kids come 150% more than they are, and then whatever the larger population of kids that maybe wakes up and, there's that moment where you wake up and like, I kind of feel sick. Like, do I really? I don't know, but maybe enough for me to like Ferris Bueller it and, stay home today. Then those are that to me is like a target if we can shift whatever that number is, and it's hard to nail down, but I have a suspicion that there's a certain percentage of kids who are like, I just don't feel like going today. That if we can get more of them to say, but I do have woodshop twice, or I do get to go to PE and then, cooking class, and we're doing that really cool project in language arts that's the Watershed. Oh, it's Watershed Day. I don't want to miss that. Or like, my teachers are nice. It's not that bad. That's the part that is hard to. I hear what you're saying, but that's the population that I think we're trying to get at. Those like kind of wishy-washy kids. Like, we have parents that are sending their kids, no matter how healthy or sick they are, right? And it's another small extreme on the other side that we have to then call and say, sorry, your kid is sick. But there's that middle ground of the like, I guess I won't put up too big of a fight and I'll go to school today. So I don't know. That's why I'm like, this is like a very curious one to me, to see how much of an impact the things that we're trying to do to shift that bulk of however you want to, I don't know how you label that, but like this way over to like, I guess I'll go today, or I won't fight anybody on it today.
Layla?
I would also provide the feedback that parent engagement was a little vague for me for whenever it comes back to time to review this. So just take that feedback, however it's helpful for you. But that is a little vague at this point.
Okay, thank you.
And I was going through that. Our intention too is just to tie back to that strategic plan. And I would say about this leadership team this year, they've done a great job engaging new families, having community forums about curriculum, and really great communication. So I think I wanted to highlight that piece because, as we know, sometimes when students go off to middle school, there's kind of a push from our kids maybe that they don't need the parents in the school. These guys believe that just parent involvement is so key. And
Absolutely.
so I think that was that piece. And if we can put parents as partners in their kids' education, hopefully all those outcomes will see an increase and improve.
Other?
I had one thing, and it's just kind of language and support and ideas of what you might want to add. I think with the essential arts choice offerings, a way that you could phrase it is, I think there's an aspect here that you're hitting and you haven't named it, where neurodivergence, especially ADHD, can become unmanageable in middle school. And that's a lot of part of the DIPS and behavior issues. And I think you're also hitting on potential demand avoidance with what you're talking about and hitting that kid who doesn't really feel good. And it's real. So if you need language of more justification, I just wanted to offer that.
Thank you.
This is really helpful. Thank you guys very much, and it's helpful to have the structure of the strategic plan to sort of work around for all of this. So thank you guys. I think I really appreciate Karen's participation in this, and sort of I feel like having been on the board now, this is my third year, I feel like we've seen the process where you guys kind of come forward and say like, hey, these things aren't working as well as we'd like them to. We're going to make some changes. These are the curricular changes that we're proposing to sort of address these things, and then we kind of follow it through. And I guess I want to say that's a really effective way to deal with the community, and I commend you for that. And I think that it builds a lot of trust that you guys aren't hiding problems from us. And I really think that's incredibly important because we aren't, like, we have kids different ages, we haven't all been through different parts of the school district. I think that I feel really strongly that the community is far stronger and our school districts are far stronger when we have the approach of kind of working together. That obviously puts a lot on you guys to work with your curriculum and to come forward with solutions to us. But I think that generally speaking, the community tries to be really supportive of those things when you do come forward that way. But it does give us a lot of it gives me a lot of trust that you guys are looking at difficult things when you bring them forward and sort of talk about solutions. I just want to commend you for that and I feel like I was hearing a little bit of a sense of like maybe it's kind of tricky to like talk about this stuff, and I feel like I get that, I hear that, but for me it's actually a much stronger process, and it's a much stronger community, it's a much stronger school that can tolerate those conversations. So I really, you guys have done a good job on that. It's clearly been a multi-year process, so like, well done.
Thank you.
I have a rather specific question. I'm taking a peek at the essential arts
Class size?
stuff.
Yep.
Yes. And I was curious, I'm seeing in the band choir 5th, 6th grader column, there's one period where there's 9 students enrolled, there's another period where there's 12 students enrolled. Is there a kind of a discrepancy for those kind of changes?
I don't know what kind of order this is in. Can you help me?
Layla,
with-
do you have what the page number on the bottom? And
Oh, yes.
Tom,
So I
the
have
packet-
56 out of 121 for one,
Thank you.
Also,
and I
what are
have
the column
57 out of
headings?
121.
That was my question for this. I can't tell what the column headings are.
If you look at the first one, I actually just copied it and
Oh, sorry. Yep.
moved
So
through.
on the first page on 55, it's the class name.
I still can't read them because they're cut off. It says class period NA and it carries on. I don't know what
Oh,
that
so it's
means.
class,
I have it on page 55.
I'm on page 55.
okay, so class name, period of the day, enrolled students,
So that's a count?
so that first one in reading 7-8, period 8, there's 2 students
Okay,
in
so
there.
that's a count of
Yep,
the
how many
students. Okay,
students.
great.
Yep, so then it's ordered by students, so it goes from our smallest class size.
Okay.
On the last page, smallest class size, to the biggest class size. on the last page.
And sorry, what page are you on, Layla, again?
I'm on page 56 and 57.
Thank you.
And the band choir on 56 is the 5th one down, and the band choir on page 57 is at the top.
So we have students this year are taking, are you ready? I have an answer.
Let's go.
Give me a second though. So you're either taking band every day or choir every day, or you're taking band one day and choir the next, and they flip-flop back and forth. So band, if we're on page 56 and we have band choir 5-6, those are the students that are in 5th. So there's 9 students in 5th and 6th grade, maybe more than you want to know, but it's actually only 6 because 5th graders can't be in band yet. They have to take instrument lessons. So there's 9 6th graders that go back and forth between band and choir. Now going to page 57, band 5-6, there's 12 students that are in band every day. So one day there's 12 in band, the next day there's 21, and they go back and forth.
And the previous years, band and choir were linked for, that it has always been grouped 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8th.
Yes.
And so when I look at these numbers, what I'm seeing is there are 21 5th and 6th graders.
Well, 6th graders at this time because, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 21 6th graders in band. Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
All right.
So that was another question before you all leave. Does anybody on the board have any other questions about the class size numbers that we were given before you? Personally, I think we're going to be processing these over time. So just, if we don't have any questions right now, it doesn't mean we won't have questions later, but we may have some questions right now.
I anticipate we can provide something similar in our budget books for when you guys look at the individual schools. So when we look at budgets for next year and offering stuff like that. Middle school is a little different because they have that HEX schedule and stuff like this. So you're looking really at that first trimester full of data. So I thank Tyler for pulling it for us. But if you guys would like something for second half of the year for those essential arts, we can pull that as well.
And sorry, so these are the class sizes. This is like the number of kids who have signed up like as of right now for these classes.
The number of kids that are enrolled in those classes.
Enrolled in those classes.
Yeah.
And does it change trimester to does it change throughout the year?
The core classes
Some
won't
of them
change
do.
like your,
So we
yeah.
have 30-day class. We have 30-day EAs, or you could call them hexmester EAs, which is like half a I know. It's like half a trimester.
Just
but
call them
that-
30 days. You have
30
30-day
days, I know.
classes
30-day classes and 60-day classes.
and full year classes.
And full year classes, sorry.
Right.
And this is all of those. This
Yes.
is every
Correct.
single class that's offered.
During this trimester.
For this try.
Right now. During this 30-day period right now.
There you go.
But a trimester isn't 30 days.
Trimester is the 60 days, so it's a half a trimester. So this is the first 6 weeks. This is what it's going to look like. Slightly change in the second 6 weeks, but not dramatically change. It will just
Same
slightly
num-
change.
Pretty much same numbers across the board.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Just different courses.
okay, thank you.
Different kids in different spots, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just going to answer for you all, sorry.
Keep it going. I'm going to turn my mic off.
Let's just move along. All right.
I just wanted to call it, so I think, obviously looking at class sizes has been a big thing since our policy. Obviously, the larger class sizes where there are in gym. I did want to point out, we do have a co-taught class, which is on page 67, Fun Foods and Crafts. It's a co-taught class by our food
FCS.
Fa-
cooking
yes,
teacher,
FACS
yeah.
teacher, and also one of our tech ed teacher, one of them, and also our Spanish teacher. So it's there's 2 teachers for that large cohort.
So the only observation I have about your class sizes, when we get into the larger class sizes in general, is I would just keep an eye on how many of those larger core classes are in 7th and 8th grade versus 5th and 6th grade, right? Which I think what's happening, what it seems to be, and this is not complete analysis of this, but it seems to be you're protecting the 5th grade classes fairly well in terms of lower enrollments. 7th and 8th grade classes seem a little bit higher in some of those core classes, like middle school math with Elizabeth Jones, bless her heart, 24 kids. That's a lot for a math class, right?
I agree, yep.
Right, so just kind of keeping an eye on that as much as possible, I think is an important thing, especially that we don't want to burn out our 7th and 8th grade teachers because we're doing such a good job of protecting our 5th and 6th grade teachers and that cohort. It's different because it's 3 teams and, or 2 teams in one, anyway.
There's a lot, yeah.
There's a lot going on, I realize, but just as a heads up, sort of keeping an eye on that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Nope, great, thank you very
All
much.
right. One last apology for that EMT comment at the beginning. Sorry about that. Everybody's all right. Thank you.
You were going to have to call him here because my heart was like,
Honestly. All right, on to the high school.
Really quick second before we go on to see if I can fix the latency issue too. Just
Okay.
I think Ian has a stand-up there.
Perfect. No, gotta punch the button. There you go.
Okay. There was a doctor and a nurse on the field
Oh, gosh.
prior to EMT. So
Oh, I
we
thought
did
it was a
get
joke.
So they came out of the stands.
Oh, that's great.
So that's good. And also, I guess before we start, phone compliance at the high school, although I was nervous that the kids just wouldn't put them away, they have. And so by and large, it's been a grand success. So we're excited about that. Every once in a while, I can see out into the student center, and you can, it's like shooting fish in a barrel a little bit. I don't do that, but the learning curve is steep. Can we press the button? Okay. So, goal number 1, LHS will reaffirm its commitment to the vision of a graduate by intentionally embedding its goals into school processes, classroom instruction, and student learning experiences. So the next slide. So I guess by June 26th, we will integrate, so that should be in the past tense. A bit of a correction with that goal on the top. That statement should have been written in the past tense, because by June, students will have completed a self-assessment in each of the 4 vision of a graduate competencies. Strengths and areas of growth will have been identified, and programming will have been made available in advisory to address those areas of growth. At the start of school, self-assessments and rubrics, which were created from mastery to proficiency to approaching proficiency down to beginning, were identified and attached to each of the indicators for each of the 4 vision of a graduate competencies. And the first survey was completed on September 5th, last Friday, on effective and collaborative communication. So again, the kids very quickly, well, hopefully thoughtfully, also went through the survey and graded themselves, but also identified what we thought were, what we asked them to do, which were 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. So 521 students participated. Again, Hartford students weren't there, but we thought that was a pretty good number. The 2 strengths were listen. This is what these kids determined about themselves. They listen and value the contributions of others, which was great to see. These are notes that you don't have, but I could provide. And the other strength was they communicate with mindfulness and purpose. So we felt pretty good about that. 2 areas of growth that they identified were organize thoughts, ideas, and information into coherent messages, and to write and speak clearly for a variety of purposes, which I thought that seemed pretty accurate to us. This Friday, advisory students will self-assess on critical and creative thinking skills and will complete surveys on the other 2 competencies, hopefully by the end of September, but then we have homecoming and bonfire in there as well, but certainly by the first part of October. So all 4 competencies will have been addressed, and then programming will be identified to help in those growth areas. The other indicators of success that you see up on the screen, administrators will be looking for vision of a graduate indicators during our observations. I'd like to think that we always have, but we'll try to be more mindful about giving specific feedback on those indicators when we write up those observations. Also, participation in athletic and co-curricular activities. We had an activities fair last Friday, which is always a huge success, a lot of fun. It's just a good vibe in the gym, a lot of participation, 50-plus clubs this year, 2 debate clubs. We'll see how that goes, where we haven't had one in 10-plus years. I wonder if they'll compete against each other. I hope not. I hope they'll consolidate. The importance of co-curriculars in athletics, we are always trying, and every message that we send in the spring when they come up and visit on the prior to the first day of school, and the 9th graders are in the gym, and then also on that first opening assembly, we always talk about 3 things. One is to work as hard as you can in school, because what they do now counts, to try to create good relationships with their peers and their teachers. And number 3 is get involved. And if they can do those 3 things, and we've been doing this for years, then they're going to have more than likely a good experience. So that is how we're going to measure that first goal. And Bonnie will do goal. My name is Ian Smith, by the way, and I'm the principal, and this is Dr. Bonnie Robinson, Director of CIA.
Good evening. Our second goal is similar to the middle schools in that we're going to be focusing on learner-centered strategies. We know that what happens in the classroom has the largest impact on student learning. And so again, we'll be focusing on it. We've already done a self-assessment among the staff on which learner-centered strategies they are currently employing and which other areas they'd like to see some growth in. The alignment of the categories we measured with the strategic plan was pretty significant. Just to name a few of them, we looked at culture and relationships, student voice and choice, personalization, inquiry, deeper learning, collaboration, academic discourse, differentiation, community-connected learning, literacy and numeracy across the curriculum, multilingual learner supports, metacognition, reflection, and routines and protocols. I could go on, but the alignment with the strategic plan in looking at learner-centered strategies is remarkable and notable. The strategic plan seems to have a lot in it, but when it narrows right down, we think that this is the goal that most aligns with the intent of the strategic plan. These are some of the things that our teachers identified in the self-assessment from the survey that we did. These were all options that they could select, and it's very interesting. These were the top vote getters that they recognize that they are already employing learner-centered strategies in the classroom. In addition, they were asked to add learner-centered strategies that hadn't been mentioned. And these ideas came from individuals, and in the spirit of we can learn a lot from each other, we are going to use these and other ideas to use our staff to teach each other. The one that we picked up on from this list for our first faculty meeting is POGIL, Process-Oriented Guided Inquiry Learning, which is something that is well known in science circles but has applications across the curriculum. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So by June of 26, we will have highlighted, implemented, and expanded our use of learner-centered strategies by studying a strategy at each monthly staff meeting. And we're going to call on our staff members to contribute to that vision. Back to POGIL, it was Ryan Marquis, one of our brand new teachers who joined us from Claremont this year, who brought that to the fore. And it really has a direct alignment with the vision of a graduate regarding communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork. It's a 3-step model that looks at exploration, concept invention, and application, and the teacher acting as a facilitator. Working with Ryan, we provided a definition of what process-oriented guided inquiry learning looks like, as well as the roles and benefits within that context. And then Ryan was very happy to share one of his favorite lessons on, what was it, Ian? Electron configuration. Yes. He's a chemistry guy. So that was very interesting. Other indicators of success, we talk about these things all the time. We've shown you the data. We talk about it regularly, how we really stretch to meet the needs of all of our students through internships, through AP classes, through visiting other businesses in the community, through project-based learning, all different kinds of things. I had to include this quote, an email we received from one of our alumni from just in June that he's now at UNH, and all of his AP and RVCC transfer credits came through, and he recommends everyone do well in those classes because it's going to save them $30,000. We've had a huge expansion in dual enrollment credits and opportunities during the course of the last few years. It continues to grow, and we're very proud of that.
So that student's brother also is going to graduate early, and the parent communicated to me that's going to save them $60,000+ because of their participation in those programs. So that's you know, obviously real money.
And just to be clear, the dual enrollment opportunities are our own Lebanon High School teachers teaching classes as adjunct professors at River Valley Community College. So they are in-time classroom instruction and learning for most of them. Some of them are online classes as well, which we also think is good training for kids before they get to college. But many of them are happening right within our Lebanon High School classes. There were over 200 credits earned that had both high school and college credit last year.
So just to mention these instructional vignettes that are going to be happening during staff meetings, and we haven't had those before. And I think without the strategic plan being in place, and without the expectation on the part of you folks, the SAU, and I'd like to think we're taking ownership in that as well, these wouldn't have happened. So you know, we're kind of looking forward to staff members playing, you know, a more substantive role in sharing what they're doing in their classroom, where we haven't done that before. So that's good stuff. The last goal, goal 3. Bonnie and I dug into this earlier in the week and late last week, and we found out that we have a lot of work to do with NEASC. And we thought after the initial visit that perhaps the second visit wouldn't be as rigorous, and we've determined that it will be equally so. So we have a lot of work to do, and we'd like to try to get that done at the administrative level and at least flesh out the answers or responses to what they're asking us to do, so we can bring it, at least bring a template of sorts to collect contributions from staff so they can focus on their classroom. So we're going to, which I think is what is expected of administration, kind of bear the brunt of that responsibility, bring it forward first at, our coordinators meetings, and then we will break into our small groups like we did before. So we have a lot to do. The 3 areas that we have chosen to focus on for growth that we have shared with NEASC, and they've given us feedback on, are up above on the screen. Just to speak to those a little bit, we're going to continue to improve in the area of cultural competency. Cultural competency is the ability to effectively and respectfully understand, communicate with, and interact with people of diverse cultural backgrounds. 2 or 3 years ago, we received an influx of ELL students, and we felt that we weren't as prepared as we could have been to provide the necessary services that would elevate them and assimilate them well. And so we have made inroads in doing so. We've increased the ELL position from a 0.8 to a 1.0. We're providing para support for portions of the day in there, and that has gone well, and have implemented translation technology that has really improved student learning and that relationship between teacher and student. Goal number 2, curriculum instruction assessment continues to be and will remain a focus. It's, as we know, it continues in every, that is a annual pursuit. It's never done. We continue to provide time during in-service days. We have set aside the 4th Tuesday of every month for curriculum development, CIE over the summer, and we do ask for and are given monies over the summer at times to improve specific identified areas of our curriculum. So 9th grade social studies is a different class now as a result of that work being done over the summer. Common planning time is tough to find. When we build our schedule, we try to eliminate as many constraints as possible in order to find a maximum student load, and any constraint that you put in that algorithm will detract from that. So having time during the school day is hard to find, so we try to find it elsewhere. We tried to respond to student interest and needs in building new classes. Take Flight, of course, came to us with Amy Allen, but AP African American Studies is in play because of student interest this year, and it's been on the registration sheets for the last several years, and now we feel that we have a substantive enough. We've had 2 or 3 students who are interested. Now we have, I think, 9. I'd have to look. We have the data to give you that. But we want to run it, because if we run it, we think it'll grow as well. And we have a really cool ski building class that Tom Moore received monies for and went out and developed that skill and has brought it back. Examples of collaborative interdisciplinary opportunities for professional learning. So there is work being done between English, social studies, and the library about the research process, and that's been a good working group, and progress has been made. Supporting students in mathematics learning, fostering a positive struggle, which is what our math program is designed to do, bringing kids together, working together, talking about math, and we have obviously seen the success with that. Book groups on leadership and resilience exist in the building, and it's everybody is not everybody's involved, but they're all types of people from different positions throughout the staff who are participating in that. Do you have a comment on that, Bonnie? No. Bonnie has spent a great deal of time with Karen to have outward-facing curricular information, so developing standards, competencies, know and can-do statements, instructional activities and assessments, and I think we're 90% there in being able to present that information in a way that the public can absorb. Number 3, facilities. So I just want to say again, and I think John has received credit for, and all of it deserving, the entire outside of our building has been changed, and the aesthetic feel is significant. For those of us who've been around, it's night and day between the facility you drive up to now and what it was 8 years ago. So we appreciate the dedication on the part of the LHS community, the Lebanon School District community, to make this a place where people feel good about entering. So the inside parts of the building, I think it's a slow and steady approach to identifying areas to try to bring them up to standard. It's a 1958 building, but it's in good shape. It's clean. It's as clean now as it ever has been since I've been in more than a decade. And people feel like it's actually for an old building outside. You walk through the front, you come up and you think it's going to be a modern building inside, and whoa, you're surprised a little that it's not that way all throughout. But there is an identified plan to improve those areas, and that's happening. We communicate so much better with facilities than we did 5-7 years ago, and those positions that have been added to the facilities department have proven to be, at least through our lens, worthwhile. And we are able to, our wet paint players, our Shakespeare plays, our ability to reserve gym and athletic fields has all improved mightily. And so, although it's a goal for NEASC, it's one that I think that we can say has been filled in large part. And that's it. Oh, and the last, right, well, this is, so this is just an example. This is one small part of many other parts that we have to try to answer in an articulate way, try to avoid edge-speak and make it such that a layperson can understand how we're going to respond. Please don't ask us any answers to these questions because we haven't done it yet. And it is a thoughtful process that will demand some collaboration. But this is just an example of the kinds of questions being asked. And so they're not immediately, the answers are not immediate. So you need to think about it.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions for the high school?
I have a small question.
Go ahead, Mila.
What does NEASC stand for?
It's the New England Association of Schools and Colleges.
Thank you.
It's our accrediting body.
So it's a process that every 10 years, every public school in New England has to endure at some level.
And that tenure, is it on like 2030? Is that the timeline for it? Or you said it's coming up, is it next year?
So we had our initial visit last fall, and then we identified areas of growth, and they'll come back next fall, in the fall of '26, to see how well we've done.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question about something you mentioned at the beginning, when talking about the self-assessment that the students took, and you said they identified 2 things as their strengths and 2 things as their areas for growth. Can you repeat those? I just couldn't.
They're taken directly from.
Yeah, I understand. I just didn't know what the.
Yeah.
Here are the 2 things.
Strengths were listen and value the contributions of others, and communicate with mindfulness and purpose. They think they do a pretty good job with those. I guess it's relative, right? And the areas of growth: organize thoughts, ideas, and information into coherent messages, and write and speak clearly for a variety of purposes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I was clear. So it's interesting to me that the students identified their strength as a social emotional strength, right? Like a communication, and they identified their weaknesses as academic weaknesses, right? So that's an interesting development. I don't know what to do with that, but you should do something with it, because it's interesting that the kids themselves would say, we feel like we're strong in these social and emotional areas, which is excellent, and we feel like the places we need improvement are in these academic areas from the perspective of a high school giving this assessment.
I would agree with you. I think the areas of growth I think are difficult for most people, but the plan is to address these. That's interesting. You know, is that information that we would talk about at a coordinators meeting? And I think we would, and it just wouldn't be programming and advisory. I think there would have to be a spillover such that you know, those departments whose job it would be to cultivate those skills would plan for that.
Arguably, I think that would be all departments,
I would agree.
not
Right.
Just English.
And the
Across
2
the
debate
curriculum.
teams.
Across the
Right.
curriculum.
And then I had one more. And this is for goal number 2. So, like it. The thing I would encourage is if you also look at the similar goal that the middle school has, right? So they're identifying their same strategy or learner-centered strategies that are already happening, and you're saying by June 2026 you will highlight, implement, and expand. And my question is, how will you know that you have expanded if you haven't identified what your baseline is right now, right? So what is your baseline for learner-centered strategies? You gotta have some sort of way to measure that it's expanded. So I don't know what that is gonna be, you guys can decide, but I feel like you need to have something that you can, when you come back to us, instead of saying, hey, we expanded, that's not gonna be enough. So how, what expanded, that would just be something that I would encourage you to include.
I had another bit of feedback. On the learner-centered strategies section, I'm looking at these 2 slides. I think it was very interesting to kind of hear how the teachers, and of course there's so many different teachers in different fields, the learner-centered strategies they're implementing, and I'm really excited to hear about how the staff meeting of sharing those new ideas and kind of how that will be a really good cultural fit and boost that'll really benefit the students.
Absolutely. I also commend you on the vignettes. That's an instructional vignette. It's a great title, but also a good practice. I like that. Anybody else have anything for the high school? On this, yes, go ahead.
My question was actually on the.
Right, so that I was going to move us on to the class sizes, if you don't have anything else about this presentation. Okay, so, and again, just like I said with the middle school, we're going to come back to this. Obviously, you're going to digest for a while, but yes, go ahead, Jessica.
Can you give me a refresher on how the high school makes decisions about which classes to run and based on enrollment? Like what I not.
Right. So my understanding of how departments choose what courses they're going to make available on the registration sheets is social studies, English, math, science, and world language will make all of their classes available, and students will choose, and there will be some consolidation of those based on low numbers here and there. There is, I'm not sure there's an established rotation in the allied arts, but not all allied arts classes, and we've talked about this over the years, should we make them all available, a true open menu for all kids to choose? And what happens is there's a kind of a, there could be a collection of very low numbers in a handful of classes, and then what to do? You know, you're squeezing kids in to electives that they didn't choose in order to create full schedules for staff members, and that might not be the best way to go about it. So I think last year we limited the number and there should be an established rotation, and Jess, I don't believe that there is, and with that.
Actually, I know that there is, especially in art, for example, because of the materials needed for pottery and ceramics. It's a huge budget item, so that happens opposite of other art classes, so we can balance the budget each year and use our resources effectively.
I guess
If that's true, then that's something that I've been asking for years and is now in place, and I'm glad to hear that it is.
I guess like the root of my question is that I'm sort of trying to understand how we can have so many classes running with fewer than 5 students in them.
In the first few pages, just to point out and making sure it came out in color, so anything in purple is Hartford.
HACTC, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so that's sort of, those
yeah.
numbers are determined by them, the students
Yeah.
fit up. So anything
even
that's.
with that, it's an awful lot of classes with, it feels that way, and I'm because I don't have kids in high school, because I never did go to the high school, it's just hard for me to, it may be that this is a totally makes sense, I just am trying to picture it.
You raise a good question. So for years, we create the October 1 report, and which is, it gathers information about demographics, where our kids come from, what classes kids are taking, the number of classes over 25, the number of classes enrolled with less than 10. Classes that run with less than 10, I'm generally concerned with, unless it is a class where low numbers of students are best in order to meet the needs of the students in that learning environment. Oftentimes, they're foundations level classes. Oftentimes they start low, and there's some trickle down from, for instance, from biology into foundations of biology. So we leave them low. We might even divide a 16-person class in foundations in biology, which can be a difficult class to teach, into 2 groups of 8, knowing that there will be additional students who fall out of biology into those groups. For years, we have been trying to build our performing arts classes, and we have introduced new courses. We have had counselors make overt efforts to try to encourage students to participate in those classes. We are reluctant to reduce FTEs in the performing arts, because we want to be able to hire good people, and we're always optimistic that those classes will fill. But I'm always concerned, Jess, not concerned, but I noticed the classes that are under 10. I would say 2/3 of them I can provide an explanation for. The rest are simply under-enrolled.
And some of the numbers are different than what has appeared on yours. We had done our own analysis prior to this coming out of Alma, which we appreciate Tyler doing. But Jason Tatu's period 1 class does not have 2 students. It has 9 students in 3D printing. So there are some changes that have happened, or it was misreported, but we have a different set of data.
So for instance, the music class, Dom DeFrancisco had a strings class of, I think, 2 or 1. And we want to be able to provide that, but we can't justify running a 1 or 2 person class. So we changed the title of it, pulled it from the student handbook, or for the program of studies, and now that class has 10 students. And I think it's popular music of the different genres. I forgot the name of it, but we've worked hard to try to make our studies halls smaller and to fill those classes. Even on the fly, even at the start of the school year, where students might be drawn to participate. So you raise a good question, Jess. We have a large, our student body has diverse interests and abilities. We have a breadth of classes that trying to meet the varying needs, and invariably we end up with student loads of some teachers have close to 100 kids, and others who have 49. And that's difficult to explain.
There are a few other things. For example, superlatives honors runs concurrent
concurrently.
with superlatives. So superlatives is later on the list, but there are 3 students who are in leadership positions. So that class is not a class of 3. It's a class, I think, of, I don't know, maybe 14. I don't remember.
The same would apply for math classes as well. They look like they are low-numbered math classes with low numbers, but those math classes are combined at the foundations level. So yeah, I think it's worth pointing out a little bit. So in looking back here, so we had 42.8 classroom instructional FTEs in 2018 when we have 580 students. So this year, at the start of the school year, we anticipated in the spring of having 664 students in the building. So this is 2025. So we are, 7 years removed from that 580 mark, and we have 46.6, but FTEs, but 1.2 of those are because of take flight, which is great. But it's not something we necessarily anticipated. And we've also run classes that we agreed should be run, although they had low enrollment. But we are a school that should run AP Chem. We are a school that should run AP Stats. And so those have filled a little bit. But so those teachers are 1.2s, where they would typically be 1.0s. So we think we have, despite our growth in population, we have 80 more kids in the building than we did 7 years ago. Our increase in FTEs has been modest. And we do always, in this process prior to coming to you in November, look at ways to reduce, whether it's through attrition or opportunities to have staff go to reduce number of FTEs if they choose. And that's a process that we talk about. So anytime we come here asking for more staff, we have to be very thoughtful about it, and we will again in November. So
I just have a question, something you said earlier about, so I have a couple of questions. One, what's the average, what is the load for a full-time teacher? Is that 5 sections of something, 6 sections? What's
a typical teacher is a 1.0, so 5 sections.
5 sections.
Yeah.
And then you said sometimes those teachers, there'll be teachers that have 100, there'll be teachers that have 49.
Right.
I mean, if I were that teacher, I'd have a lot of questions about that, particularly especially looking at some of your high enrollment classes, like your AP
So if you take,
government, for instance,
yeah,
or your AP, not AP government, AP government and politics and your AP world history, like those people have high levels, high loads, they're AP classes, and they got a lot of sections of it, according to this, right? So how does that get equitably delineated?
So that department coordinator has a difficult job of kind of parsing out, soliciting input from the department members about what they want to teach. AP classes, people like to teach AP classes, although they're usually high numbers because they're kids who are typically interested and motivated in learning. So your classroom behavior issues melt away, but you have more papers to grade, and so your Sundays are gone, for instance. But there should be, ideally, a distribution or a rotation of those classes such that it doesn't tend to happen as much as I would like to see, but there are people that are very comfortable with those high numbers because they get to teach those upper level classes at times that they have invested in a lot of time and energy. But I would agree. I mean, I would look at this, but you look at Sarah Bennett's classes in Shakespeare. Those are performance-based classes for the most part. They're large numbers, and it's a different type of instructional method. And so some of that can be explained in that way, but you just picked the two those are heavy loads.
Well, but also like science, right? The AP Bio, he's got multiple sections of that. I mean, it seems like there's some that are heavy hitters in general. And your point is well taken. I think people love to teach AP classes. I love to teach AP classes. That's great. Yep. But in some cases, when you have 70 or 65 kids, you're not necessarily only getting the kids who are super motivated to be an AP. So that's another question I have is sort of how is that? Are there other options? And are there enough other options given
that's a lot of your percentage of your class that's taking an AP class. I would just wonder about that. But it's not a question you can answer now. So.
I might never be able to.
Right, that's fine.
I'll just point out that it is going to change with the 306s
Right.
as they kick in starting next year.
Exactly.
And so oftentimes if we have, again, like, 20 students sign up for AP Bio, that would be a really reasonable size class to teach, but we might split that class in order to maximize, again, student load. If we only run one, there's a good chance that those who are interested might not be able, the algorithm won't put them in that class, and so they don't get to take it. And so we'll run 2 sections of smaller classes, and that's the luxury we've had access to. And I understand it can be understood to be expensive also, so we have to be able to justify it and perform well.
I think your goal too of providing student-centered classes is really good. I mean, I think that as being one of your guiding forces, I think is an important thing, especially at a high school, more so than anywhere else. And I do think that having the broad variety of things that are available benefits those students. And I think that student-centered focus is really important. So commend you for that.
I have 2 questions. Do you know offhand the number of AP classes offered? Not like sections, just like what subjects, like number of subjects?
There are 9.
9.
That's a
No, there's more than
9.
It's across all of the departments.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems very high. That's really, really wonderful. I'm sure that's a really great beneficent thing. And this is another offhand question that's very specific. Do you happen to know the number of students in band?
It's in 3 different sections this year.
So I think it's like 54, but Bonnie will correct me if I'm wrong. She's going to do some quick math. It's been as high, we really haven't recovered from our pre-COVID numbers. I think we were as high as 71, 75, and we dropped as low as 38, I think, and now it's making its way back.
Some of my curiosity is coming from the way that it's listed for this, and this is because I have not yet interacted with the high school as a parent. The way it's listed as either honors band, does that mean there's a separate band, or is that just like the section leaders get a bonus credit, basically?
Exactly.
Great.
It's running concurrently.
Right.
I would avoid the percussion section if I were you. It's quite loud.
Yeah.
But it gives the percussionists an opportunity to really fine-tune their section. And so it's like a sectional, and then all of the 3 bands join together.
Interesting. That's really great. Thank you.
And in the early days, it's hard for our kids to fit it in. And so back when our band was 70, we had a 6 a.m. band. It was before school band. And so students could fit it in because these are kids who are really busy after school too. And they're very programmed.
I think that's the general issue with band kids, particularly in high school, having all that, not wanting to have to take anything off. Yeah.
And I think that will be a challenge too as we head next couple of months talking about the 306 and the implementation and making sure that we maintain these offerings for our student. Just because the state's not defining them that we need them, it doesn't mean our community shouldn't offer them.
All right, any other questions for the high school? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Right, okay, our continuing resolutions, we're actually just gonna briefly talk about this.
Sure, I know last meeting I talked about there is a date set for the resolutions. We talked a little bit, maybe people that were interested. I included in the packet, just for your information to read on your free time, is the proposed resolutions by the School Board Association. And you can let me know if you want to vote on them in the September 24th meeting or the first week of October, because I think
I'll do the September 20th.
Okay, perfect. So I will, if you guys can read those resolutions, so we can vote on which resolutions that we are going to support, and I will add them to the agenda for the 24th.
Okay, great. Also, I've skipped something, so we're going back to 10A.
which is we need discussion and action on approval of the donation from the Mascoma Watershed Conservation Council for the Watershed Project-Based Learning Project of the donation of $26,390.70.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the donation in the amount of $26,390.70 from the Mascoma Watershed Conservation Council for the Watershed PBL Project at LMS.
Okay, motion by Tia, second by Jessica. Do we have any additional questions? Beyond saying thank you to the Mascoma Watershed Conservation Council, this is a great opportunity for our kids. I had a question, which I'll ask Tom later, but I wonder if they're going to coordinate with the 4th grade watershed? Already happening?
There may be some crossover too. If I can remember from their proposal, they will be doing kind of geocaching in that area and setting up things for the community and sharing those with presentations of learning. And we anticipate that this project will continue year after year with this initial investment in the work that they're going to build some into the community, to the curriculum.
Great. All right, all those in favor of accepting the donation? Yes, okay, unanimous, great. Okay, so that leads us to committee updates. Finance and Facilities met on August, okay, we already talked about that.
Yep.
The next meeting is September 16th at 4:30 p.m. at the SAU. Policy Committee met on September 8th. Do we say about that?
Those policies will be on the September 24th meeting, and just so people are aware, we are waiting for the Fall School Board Association policy update, and then you'll probably see a larger amount of policies coming through Policy Committee.
Okay, EC meets tomorrow.
Yep.
At 12 p.m. And PNN met today.
PNN met today. We started our process with the LSS, and I'm sure we will be informing you about things as we get further along in the process.
Great, thank you. Student Wellness Advisory Committee met on September 4th.
Yeah, we formulated our goals for the year, engagement, and just trying to, be more present within the community. The goal is to have 4 meetings over the course of the school year. The next meeting will be sometime in December, date specific to be determined.
Okay. Great, thank you. HACTC's next meeting is on October 1st at 12 p.m. Area next meeting is on October 21st at 6 p.m. at Plainfield. The School District and City Task Force next meeting is to be determined, and that might be a joint meeting. The Housing Task Force next meeting is September 15th at 8:15. We are going to have a short non-public, and so we need a roll call vote to go into that. So it is under C. So we need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion that we go into non-public session under 91A32C.
Thank you. Motion by John.
I'll second.
Second by Tia. Need roll call. Kevin?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Tia?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Joe?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Layla?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go into non-public at 8:28 p.m. And we will return in a few minutes.
We are back at 8:37. And are there any future agenda items, board member recommendations, or questions? Okay, our next school board meeting is September 24th at 6:30 p.m. here. There is no additional other business that I know of.
Question.
Yes.
Do we have,
Sorry.
we have all the future dates, the upcoming.
Yes. Yes, I shared it with you. I can share it with you again.
Great.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
I'll share it with everybody. Yes, we do have them all. And they are already on the calendar as well, the school calendar, but it's hard to find, so I'll just get. Any other questions? Nope. All right, I need a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Jessica. I need a second. Second by Tia. All those in